Hi, everybody. It's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? We're so glad you're here. Welcome to our show. We meet here every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you are in another state and you have a different um, time going on there, you know what your time is. Leo is in Idlewild, California. So he and anybody out that way is 3 hours ahead of us. So one of the things I do like to do is I like to make sure that we are going live on my page as well, because I like to look at both broadcasts, because what happens is sometimes some people because I like to look at okay, there we go. Some people come through on the What's the Story with Maria page when they comment, and some come through my personal page. So if you want to share this show to your page, please feel free. So tonight what we're going to focus on is getting people motivated to vote, which we've been doing every week. We've been dropping little pearls of wisdom and little posting. Leo and I, Leo posts them because he's so great at this stuff. Leo's been posting all these different ways to register to vote, to get out the vote, to help other people get out the vote. So we're going to continue to do that tonight. I do want to quickly talk about something, because these things eat at me, and then I feel like if I don't vent, that it's going to drive me crazy. There's a wonderful Italian word called sfogare, which is like to it's the opposite of affogare, which is, they use that in coffee terms. Affogare is to smother, right? Sfogare is to let out the steam on something. And my mother used to use that term when it came to venting about stuff. She'd say, I'd be really angry about something, and she'd say, just sit down and sfogare, like let it out, let the pressure out. So I think that's really important, and I that's why I like to talk about things. So yesterday I was hearing, I watch a lot of news, and I listen to a lot of news, and I try to listen to as many different things as possible. I know which ones I like and prefer, but I like to listen and see what everybody's listening to, because that's how I know what other people are thinking and hearing and all that, and what's influencing them. So, one of the things that hi, Rena, my cousin Rena has joined us from Massachusetts. One of the things that I'm really, really tired of is everybody blaming Joe Biden for inflation. And I know it's easy to say, well, he's the president and inflation is through the roof. Okay. So I'm just going to remind everybody, we had a pandemic, like a crazy pandemic, where lots of people died. People were in the hospital. We all were not working. Everybody was on unemployment, or most people were on unemployment. We got stimulus checks. Nobody was driving, so the gas went way, way, way down, because guess what? They're having a sale. Now, when the world starts building back up, gas is going to start to go back up, because that's the way it goes. Once the demand is high, then all of a sudden people are spending more on it. So I want to talk about that. And the gas has been coming down. It was $5 a gallon. Now it's back down to like $3.75 or something. So that's a huge difference in a few months' time. So I feel like things are getting better in that way. But I will remind you of something else. The war in Ukraine, which we've kind of almost in a weird way forgotten, because there's so much stuff going on here. This war, which is really a global war, even though it's just happening there. So why people say, why do we have to get involved? I'll tell you why we have to get involved. First of all, it's costing billions of dollars to hold the line, right? Just to hold the line. Now I have to give it up for Ukraine, because they are moving, taking back their territory a little at a time. But guess who's helping them? We are helping them. And other countries that are allied countries are helping, because we're supplying things that are going to help them. Now, why? A lot of people say, why are we involved? Because if we do not get involved, they don't just want Ukraine. Putin does not just want Ukraine. He wants all of it, because that's what greedy people do. Leo, did you want to say something?
I did want to say that as you're talking about this, Ken Burns has put out another wonderful, wonderful documentary on the Holocaust. And there are such similarities
Yep.
as to what has been going on, not only there, but in this country, and to what happened and transpired, and what happened when America didn't get involved before.
Right, right. And England has, I mean, now with, I mean, the Queen was around,
Whew.
been around forever, but Churchill and all that stuff, and how vital it is that we help hold that line. And because we're helping them hold that line, we are we're saving global democracy because there are so many leaders that are oligarchs and are dictators that don't want to have anything to do with democracy, and those countries suffer. There's money there, there's so many people there. Who gets the money? The richest of the rich. It's not fair. Democracy affects all of us. If you don't care, you should care. And go back and look at history, like Leo was saying. If you don't know about the Holocaust, for the love of God, educate yourself. There's so many amazing movies. There's Schindler's List. I can think of, Playing for Time. Oh my God. There's, go ahead, Leo.
You can't go forward anywhere. Any of us cannot go forward happily and knowingly with each other if we can't look at the past and not repeat our mistakes as a human race,
Right.
as a human being.
So when you hear about inflation, look, think of one household. If you all of a sudden were spending no money and then you started spending all your savings, right? All your savings, and you're depleting. Of course, you're going to need something to fill that up again. So let's just ride this out. Let's not pick on each other. Let's not pick on people. You know who we can pick on? In Minnesota, there was a food program, Feeding the Future, it was called. And they embezzled. They were all these funds that they got from the government to feed. They claimed that there was 125 million meals that they served children during COVID. And guess what? They had pocketed all that money. So now 44 people, I read it today, 44 people they've caught 44 people involved in the scandal, all government people. And people working for the Feeding the Future. Mississippi, look what happened with the Brett Favre thing. Mm-hmm. Millions of dollars that should have gone to these poor people. That this comes from the government. So you want to be mad at someone? Don't be mad at Joe Biden. Joe Biden is doing the best that he can with what was handed to him. And you tell me that man didn't want to retire and just enjoy the rest of his days? Instead, he's trying to save your butt and my butt. So let's just put all this craziness aside and work together, work as a team, because if we don't work together, the country as we know it is no longer. And I know that sounds really dark, but it's true. Leo?
I know I always quote cliches, but they're around for a reason. They last time and time again. So you get what you give.
Yep, absolutely.
You get what you give. If you don't want to participate, then nothing's going to come your way. And if you want to throw out negativity, that's what's going to come your way. But if you can work with each other and be positive, and then we can have a future by knowing.
Absolutely. And then we can agree and disagree and debate and all that. That's the beauty of the United States of America, that we have freedom of speech, that we have all these freedoms that we have because we are a democracy. So just remember that as we start this. We're going to have 3 wonderful guests on tonight. And the reason I chose these 3 guests was because all 3 of them are people that I can have incredible political conversations with. And I always leave the conversation having more knowledge than I went in with, being motivated, being intellectually stimulated. And I always think, I wish I could have recorded this conversation. So the other day I was riding around the car with Judy and I'm like, you have to come on, because what we're talking about, I wish everybody could hear. Joe Cangelosi is going to join us first. Judy's going to join, and then Gregg Schlotthauer. All 3 people that have wonderful takes on how we can all get motivated and some of the reasons that people aren't motivated. So, Leo, would you
I
like
to show you something that Joe gave us, that sent us today before we bring him on, which is everything you need to vote. Vote.org.
Everything. What is it? Just vote.org or everything you need to know?
It's vote.org, and it says there on the page, it gives you everything you need to to know to vote. It tells you we have 48 days, 6 hours, 47 minutes, and 29
Wow.
seconds. On November 8th, it says you can check your registration. You can register to vote. If you haven't registered to vote yet, put down the cheeseburger and go register to vote.
Absolutely.
Or vote by mail, how to get election reminders, pledge to register, find early voting location, everything here. And Joe's always a resource for us whenever
Yeah,
he comes on.
that's why I reached out to him. Okay,
Yeah.
everything you need to know to vote. And there he is now. Our friend Joe Cangelosi. Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing very, very well. How are you guys doing tonight?
Well, I'm great and motivated and ready to go.
Good. Thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, honey. I mean, I know how involved you are in things, and so I knew you would have some resources, and so this is great. Everything you need to vote.
Definitely. So I'm going to make this real, real easy, and there are 3 things I want to talk about. Leo, you already gave number 1. Vote.org. It is the simplest. It is 7 letters and a friggin' dot. Everybody can remember this thing. So not only should you check your registration, this is very, very important. Voting is the voice you have in the country. I'm going to say that again. Voting is the voice you have in this country. That's it. So if you, it boggles my mind that someone wouldn't use that at every opportunity. And not to, again, to bring this up, people have fought and died to be able to vote, particularly if you are a woman, particularly if you are a person of color, particularly if you are a woman of color. You got it from both ends. This is something that people have laid their lives on the line and fought and bloodied themselves so you can vote. You just take your ass into the booth. It takes 5 minutes.
It takes 5 minutes, but you feel so good afterwards.
Every single time.
I love it.
You made a difference. And for real, in New York, we have early voting now. You can vote for 10 days. I voted early every single time it's been offered. When I say 5 minutes, I mean it's been 5 minutes.
So you vote early, right? I usually vote on that day. So I think Joe's frozen for a minute.
I think we have a little froze.
All right, but so you can vote early, and okay, there you are. So you vote early, Joe, and how do you do that? You just go. Do you know where your polling place is?
It's usually different than your regular polling place. Check it out. Vote.org. In New York State, it's different. So they have different polling sites. Usually it's larger. It has to be handicap accessible. Usually it's a school or a larger center like that. You can vote for the 10 days before election day, so those 2 weekends. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes, and for me, it has not taken more than 5 minutes.
Joe, speaking of schools and places like that, do you remember the polls to the Souls to the Polls?
That is on my next thing I want to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, the next website I want to talk about, now, the transition here is there are people who are trying to take certain people's right to vote away.
Right.
There are purging the polls. They are, let's just call them what they are. These are the farther right Republican Party. They don't want certain people to vote. Right. So they are purging. They are in Georgia. This is the perfect example. There was something called Stroll to the Polls, baby. So predominantly African-American communities would go to Sunday service together, and they would all, as a community, take a walk, dress up in style, and go and vote. In Georgia, they took away early voting on Sundays now.
Oh, wow.
They took away many drop boxes in communities of color. So if you're getting an absentee ballot, you got to go a whole lot farther to drop your ballot off. Some states, Florida, I'm looking at you, Pennsylvania, certain areas, and also Georgia, Texas, we all know who these people are. People are no longer automatically getting absentee ballots. You now have to request them. Right. So if you normally have gotten it, go in and check and request and make damn sure it's getting to your house. The person who is fighting this is, I hope, the new governor of Georgia. Her name is Stacey Abrams. She has a website called Fair Fight.
Fair Fight. I love that.
Fairfight.com. And she just wants to make it fair. She wants, her whole purpose is to make sure every single American citizen who is eligible is able to cast a vote. It seems so simple. But there's so much opposition to this that she needs to have a whole damn organization.
But you know what's crazy, Joe? Isn't it a fact that Republicans, lots of Republicans vote early? Lots of Republicans vote absentee ballot? Like, wouldn't that be, aren't they hurting themselves as well?
Well, I don't know exactly how many. So, for instance, during COVID, it was a lot more Democrats who voted by mail and Republicans who voted early or in the precincts.
Okay.
It depends on the state. It depends on your age. It's easier if you're a senior citizen to vote by mail. Why wouldn't you want to do that? But it really does depend. So, you know, the real way, the only way to combat all of this opposition is to vote in numbers that are so large they cannot be disputed in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
That's it. If you got a few bucks, Stacey Abrams could use $5, $10. Every little bit helps. And her efforts are focused, obviously, Georgia #1, but really a lot of the South, where voter suppression is just rampant. Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, you know, this is just a fact. Where Ohio even.
Oh my God, Ohio.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Nevada.
It's gotten out of hand. So the idea, look, if every single eligible person in America voted, it would be a completely different place. We have what, maybe 40% vote in elections.
And in the age group of 18 to 31, only 33% vote.
I mean, this
what
is
the hell? This is your future.
This is it. Yeah.
All you have to do is get there. And you know what? I had a very cool conversation with a young man. Maybe he was in like around 27, 28.
Yeah.
That came to one of the bars that I work at. He came to Brandy's. And I always talk about it on the mic. And I said, listen, maybe you're someone that has never voted and you're ashamed of that and you don't know how to. And, you know, he came up to me on his way out and he said, I just want to thank you because I've never done it and I do feel really bad about it, but I don't even know how to do it. And his girlfriend said, I'm glad that you called everybody out because I'm gonna show him how to do it. And I said, and don't make fun of him. Don't make fun of your friends for not voting. Help people that you know, whether they're your boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, family. Say, listen, let's do this together. It's really important that you make it a community event.
I was involved in the last election. You know, I was extraordinarily involved. One of the things I did was took a stack of voter registration forms. So on a busy street, and me and a couple of folk, we registered 36 people into it.
Wow. Joe, where do you get those voter registration forms?
Just print them. Whatever state, go to vote.org. You want to, and print that. Obviously, every state is different. Print out a stack.
You know what? I'm going to do that, and I'm going to bring them to work.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
I'm going to bring them to work.
And then either, you know, and then they would have to either mail it in or, you know what, bring it to stamp. You can mail it yourself. Help them fill it out. You know, whatever party they want to register for, or no party. That's fine too.
That's great.
But simple things like that. And, you know, independent from that, I registered many of my friends. If a person is going to turn 18 before election day, they can vote.
Right.
These are the people who are very important. 18-year-olds, you know, these are, you know, kids in college age, right out of high school. Like this, they have the most time to deal with these decisions that, you know, will fall back on all their shoulders. Last thing, sorry.
Well, hold on one second. My cousin Rena says, I've heard from some young people that it's not that they don't know how, but that they are not informed enough about the candidates and don't have time to find out. How can you not have time to find out? You have an internet now. We used to have to. Okay, but that's all right. You see, because I start to get. Go ahead, Joe. I mean,
Well, this is where, I talk very freely with my cousins and, my nieces and nephews and everything. Just talk at
right.
family events. A quick, on election day, my God, they must be sick of me. Like, did you vote? Did you vote? Did you vote? Did you vote? I mean, I make sure everybody I know has cast a vote. It's too important, if they think I'm annoying, I actually don't care. Just vote.
Right.
And we'll talk about it on Thanksgiving.
You know what's really annoying? Having all your rights taken away. That's really annoying.
And that's the thing. And we see what's happening. Like, it's not going to stop at Roe versus Wade if Clarence Thomas literally gave the blueprint of what
and his wife
do. What inspires me is that I was reading voter registrations for women have gone through the roof. They are about 30 to 35% higher than another year of this kind. So people, and this is in places like Kansas, Nebraska, like, where shit's going to get very, very real. And it, like, not that it hasn't already, but, it's inspiring that many, many women are like, okay, now we gotta fight, and they have to.
All right, bring in the. Did you cover everything?
One last thing.
Okay,
people want to do something tangible, and I know you do this. I know I've done this. There's a great website, and it is turnoutpack/postcards. And what this is they send postcards to swing states. You can order them. You don't have to live in there. I have sent God knows how many to Minnesota and Georgia, and I coordinated a lot of this. They give you a stack of 200 and a stack of names. You fill them out. All you gotta do is, the postcards are free. If you buy some postcard stamps, you stick them on. It is there you go, perfect. It is a tangible way that it is addressing envelopes. That's all it is.
I've been doing. I got the two. Joe, since you told me about it the first time, I've done it every single time.
Perfect.
And they always ask you if you want a certain state, and I always say the same thing. Wherever you think the need is greatest, and this time they sent me Georgia.
Georgia's huge.
I did Michigan and Minnesota the last time. I did Jersey, believe it or not.
All right. Excellent.
And it worked every time. I feel like that I've been part of that solution.
Yeah.
It's
look. If you change the difference in the 2016 election and 2020 election was the changing of mind of about 1% of people.
Right.
If 1% of the postcards you send changes a mind, we will win the election. It's really that simple. And have some people over. Those of you who feel safe around, like, have 4 people, write 50 postcards each, make dinner, and you're done in a couple hours. And
right.
It's something you could all do together. So those are my recommendations for anybody who wants to get involved. There's vote.org, something you can do. Fair Fight, if it's something you can send some money if you have, and they could use any help that they can get. $5, $10, that is totally fine. And then something very, very tangible. If you want to send postcards to swing states, they will get to very targeted people in those swing states. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Georgia. We know where they are. It is very, very important. So
and thank you for turning me on to that, because I've been doing it ever since you told me this a few years back.
Totally
I feel like I'm part of the solution, and it's great. Okay, I know you got to go. We have 2 more guests we're bringing on. Joe, I cannot thank you enough.
You're the best. Thank you
motivate
so much.
me, and I appreciate you very much.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity, and have a great rest of the show. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, honey.
Bye, Joe.
Joe Cangelosi, everybody. Cangelosi Designs, by the way. He is an interior designer. Go and check out his website. Joe Cangelosi Designs. Incredible.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, honey. Love you.
Great night.
Bye, Joe.
Bye.
Bye, honey. Wow, that was a lot of unbelievable information. Joe has so much of that stuff. I love that.
We talked about where I think the voting went, where, why these kids 18. I think that the education system don't put the emphasis on it anymore like they used to.
Well, for us, but you got to remember we're from different. Well, you're younger than me. You're like you and Judy around the same age. But my generation, we were so scared because the Vietnam War was just a few years ahead of us. So, like my uncle's age, my uncle Nicky was like 14 years old, and he and his friends and all that, they were caught up in all that. And I remember my generation was so scared, but at the same time motivated that we all voted. All right, so let me just. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna
say when 18 was the Gulf War, and I remember being voting for that because we were scared that we were all going to get drafted again.
Okay, you were motivated.
Yep, but I also I don't know if it was Catholic school or not, but it was part of our, this is your duty.
Yes,
Being here. This is something that we learned in school, in grade school, up to 8th grade.
Absolutely. Absolutely 100%. Thank you for saying that. I just want to shout out Annette Zito checked in. I'm popping in to say I'm registered and I love you and I have to pop off and work. Go get it, boss.
She's a working woman.
She is. Rory Taggart has joined us. He is Canadian and wonderful. Our allies of the North. Brian Neal is watching. Billy Young is watching. Kristen Piero is watching.
Hi, Chris.
Teresa Fisher is watching. Rena, so what? It's time to pop on you know who.
Okay, Judy and Greg are in the green room. There's your warning. And here they come on. I'll bring in Greg first. And
oh my God, there they are. Hi, you guys. How are you?
Hi.
Hi, honey.
Greg?
Hi, Greg. How are you, honey?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm very, very good. And I'm very excited about I want to get people going. Now, Judy, we talked about people getting motivated and in what way the other night in the car. And I said, you got to come on and talk about that. So I love what you said you said the Republican Party is very good at motivating their base, right? And we have to take a page out of their book. But explain to the audience what you were trying to explain to me.
I guess I was just, saying that, Democrats, I think for the most part, or at least my friends, and I'm going to generalize this whole entire conversation, but for the most part, I feel like they, approach politics and policy and socioeconomic differences in a very logical way, right? Where, and then when we're, having conversations with the other side, we try to, be logical. But, logic is not their platform, right? They're not logical, because nothing, QAnon isn't logical, conspiracy theories aren't logical. So approaching them with logic isn't going to, it's not going to make a difference. They're just going to think we're lying. So the example I was giving you is that I, a few months ago, signed up for this Young American Liberty Youth something, right? I knew it was a right-wing, group, but I wanted to sign up so that I could, see what
they're doing. Kind of like a little, I get it. That's why I watch Fox News sometimes. I want to see what these people are saying.
And so they called me and they were like, so we need people to canvass. Are you interested? And then I said, sure. What is it? And they were like, all right, so we're going to tell you where to go. We pay you $2,800 a month. We give you free room and board and food and everything. And then you just go and canvass race. And I was like, okay, so do I get to know the candidates before I canvass? And they're like, no, you get to know your candidates, I guess, once you get to your post. And then I was like, oh, well, then how do I know if they serve my platform? Like, how do I know if I want to canvass for them? They're like, well, they give me very generic answers, you know what I mean? Right. And then I got deeper and deeper into, into their platform. And I'm like, okay, so like, what about gun control? Like, what are your candidates usually, where do they stand? They're like, well, we have an array of this and that, but, for the most part, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, how about abortion? They're like, well, we have blah, blah, blah. But I have to tell you, in that conversation, that initial conversation I had from them, it was very obvious that I'm not a person that they want to canvass for them, right? I'm a person that's going to question every single thing. And so he knew that, and I knew that. But they were so persistent, and they called me about a dozen more times.
Wow.
Okay, to see if I wanted to go. And I said to myself, this is exactly what the Republicans are doing that we are not doing, right? Because when I was an undergrad, I tried so many times to go and get some type of internship with one of my, political idols. Like, I think at the time it was Obama, right? Because I went to college very late. I might have tried it with Hillary Clinton. And the Democrats, for you to get those posts, and for you to work in those campaigns, they want pedigree, right? They're like, I know it's a free internship. It's free. So you're going and you're just doing it for free for the experience. So that's number one, right? But they still want there to be pedigree. They still want you to come from like Columbia, Yale, NYU, Harvard. You know what I mean? Where I'm a Democrat, I don't come from any of those schools. Where the Republicans, they don't care. They're going to pay you because they know that paying you is going to change your life. If you're an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, and you're in college and you're going to Florida, let's say, for the month or for 2 months to canvas, and you're going to get $3,000 free room and board, a car, this, that. You know what I mean? And then guess what? Your mind is going to soak up all of that information, and you're going to be like, oh, well, guess what I am now? I'm a Republican now, right?
Right.
Where the Democrats are, sort of elitist. And they haven't really, they also like separate themselves from the very, progressive wing of the party, which I always think is a very big mistake, because Democrats, progressive thing. Like people want social health care. People want to be able to live happily and healthy. This middle of the road thing is something that they use to pretend that it exists. But in reality, the party is very progressive. There's very few people.
I agree with you, but I'm going to stop you for a second. I do believe that a lot of the Democratic Party is that. However, I do feel like most people, and I'm including the Republicans and independents, and the vote that's going to tip it is not in the progressive end, because those people are going to vote. It's what I'm trying to reach out to is that middle section. And so hold on to what your thought is. But Greg, I want to pull you in because that's an excellent point. That's why I wanted to bring you on to make it, because I didn't know that they offer all that. Now, Greg, you do canvas, and you're canvassing in Staten Island, which to me is like enemy territory out there. Tell me what do you think? It really is.
Well, I think that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that I would challenge a couple things that Judy said, because I think that Trump's 2016 election fired up a lot of people on the left. And I think that since then, there's a lot more engagement, and people realize that we need to be passionate and effective communicators, and we need to get the center and all those things. In my experience in canvassing, especially this year, I'm getting paid to do it, and every day there's a dozen young people that are show up to be paid to do it $28 an hour, and they don't, it's just a congressional campaign for this crucially important district, and right now, Cook Political Report and 538 considered that it's leaning Republican, but it's been explained to me in different ways that it's really hard to poll for congressional races. And so the same thing happened in many different races in 2018. They were kind of leaning Republican, and there was a blue wave because people were fired up about how much they were freaked out about Donald Trump and all the stuff he was doing. And I feel the same energy now. And I think the Democrats are, what we saw in Kansas, what we saw in District 19 upstate in New York. People are fired up that they want to take rights away. And it's the Democrats now that are starting to fight a little bit harder, like we haven't before. It was wonderful that Joe Biden came out a couple weeks ago and said, folks, the MAGA section of the Republican Party is nuts. It's dangerous. It's not right.
Yes.
But we have to fight them. And, the Democratic Party is saying, we are the ones that are standing for freedom. We want to be able to let our kids go to school and be free to read what what they want to read. We want women to have the reproductive rights. We want to have the freedom to go to school and not be afraid of somebody walking in there with an AK-47. I think the Democrats have turned the corner and are focusing on real issues in a way that people can understand them. It's about our freedom. It's about our security. And, it could be, I think you have a really good point, Judy, that there's a lot of elitism in the Democratic Party, but it's kind of unavoidable because we are better educated.
No, I know. I was going to mention that.
Our beautiful American cities are attracting people who are just a bit smarter. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But that's not my experience in this camp. There's a lot of people that are, barely graduated from high school, and we really got to help them along.
But I'm gonna. What you guys are saying is absolutely true. Now I'm the oldest person in this group. When I was a young person, registered to vote at 18, everyone I knew was a blue collar worker. I come from blue collar people. I didn't know anyone in college. No one in my family had been to college. No one. Now, of course, all their kids have gone to college because we've progressed as a people. But no one, and so Democrats were the working class back then.
Yeah.
And that's,
yeah.
And there were Republicans too, but they weren't dangerous people. Neither one of us was a dangerous group. These are dangerous people. And that's what you're saying is it's true, because now all the younger generation, they've all been to college, all of them. And you're right. See, that's why you both have such great points. I do want to take a moment to welcome Meg Peg Gallagher's watching. She's my friend from Massachusetts. Ed Kutu of Blade Salon in Rocky Hill, Connecticut is watching.
Hi, Ed.
They're my age group. It's true. We come from blue collar workers, nurses, policemen, firemen, plumbers, electricians, welders. Those were our hairdressers.
And those are the same where I grew up. But you got to remember, I grew up in East Los Angeles. I grew up in East LA. So those were take it even lower. We're your Kmart tellers. We're your bank tellers. We're your burger servers. We're your, that was our race. And we were all blue collar and Democrat.
So now let me ask, this is for all three of you, because this is for the Spanish, the Latin vote is, to me, I would have always thought, that's a Democratic, that's definitely a shoo-in, but it's not. And you each will have some, like Greg, I know you're not Hispanic, but you speak fluent Spanish. You visited so many Spanish countries. Judy, you were born in Cuba. You have so many connections to all kinds of different Hispanic friends. Leo, you are Mexican. So you three are very important people. What's happening that you have to fit your finger on the pulse? What's happening, you think, with the Latin vote?
So historically, I'm just gonna get like a historical, because I'm not very good at talking to people I know that don't agree with me in politics. I don't have patience for it. I'm very emotional about it. So, but just like from a history standpoint, I can give some perspective, which is that, in South America, leftist leaders are considered to eventually become, dictators, right? That's what it stands for in South America, right? So when you bring those people here, and you tell them they're, the Democrats are the left, and then they kind of follow maybe a similar playbook, even if it's just one word that sounds the same, like gun. As soon as you mention something about the Second Amendment or gun rights, Cubans are like, they took all of our guns away. We couldn't defend ourselves. Now that's automatically. Venezuela, same thing. They automatically go to there. Colombia, they just elected their leftist leader. I had a friend in Florida who was telling me, no, in South America, it's different. But he sounded much better to me than the other guy. And thank God he won, I think. But they're saying,
way better.
Right. and they're saying that it wasn't, that it's bad that they won. So like, that's historically what happens. And I say this all the time, and like I said, I don't have any patience. I really cannot mess with people that don't get involved in politics. That people, you talk to them and you're like, oh my God, what's going on, and you tell them something and they have no clue. I can't even be friends with them because I'm like, what kind of person are you that you don't have any empathy for how this affects other people? I can't be friends with you. Like, it's just like a 1, 2, 3 snap, I'm off. I can't even do it. I can't even give it a try. There's none. I can't do it. That's why, Leo, when you're like, you should be a senator, there's no way. I would be telling people off on CNN 24/7. I'd be shot because they'd be like, you think Marjorie Taylor Greene is bad? I would be a nightmare. An intelligent one, but
no, you're more like the Anna Navarro. You don't compare yourself to Marjorie. She's a ridiculous.
Yeah, Judy. There used to be a talk show host in Orange County here in California called Wally George, and he used to bring liberals on and just berate them, rudely berate them, and then kick them off his show. I think that you and I need to do a Democrat version and bring on people like DeSantis and Abbott and talk about that. That's for another production meeting sometime. That's an idea for you.
Bother but anyway, that's I think that's the history behind that mentality. And if you did not go to school here in the United States, and also I don't want to just say that because some people go to school and they really they're not intelligent, right? Because you go to school and just not pay attention, right? And just do enough to get to pass. I mean, I had a friend once who has a master's in social work from Rutgers, and she didn't know that Paris was in France. Like, I mean, that's like the stupidest thing you've ever can imagine. And you're like, oh my God, this person has a master's. Like, it's social work. You're thinking like, oh my goodness, this is like not a good thing. But if you didn't go to school here and you didn't get history classes and Western Civ and all of that stuff, and you're just coming here as an adult with that mentality of what leftist, policy means to you, then that's it. You're automatically, learning politics and learning what's going on in the world I don't know, Greg, you tell me, it takes up your entire day. I'm constantly reading. I have 97 newspaper apps on my phone. Every time there's a breaking news, which is literally every 5 seconds, I have to pull over, I have to read. I need to read. So like, it's a full-time job. And who's doing that? Not everybody's doing that.
Right. So Greg, what do you think?
Well, I think that there are two things I want to mention in this regard. First of all, there's we can depend less and less on Latinos, which is a huge kind of group, and there's a lot of nuance in there. Judy knows that the Florida, the southern Florida Latino community is going to be much more conservative than the Puerto Rican community in New York. It's a totally different animal, But then again, you also have a lot of gains for Trump Latino Republicans in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico. The Trump movement was able to attract a lot of blue collar people, and I think that personally, I think it has to do with a lack of exposure and a lack of education, and the effects of social media and the effects of our culture that kind of impersonalize things to an extent where none of us are immune to that effect of simplifying things and looking at Trump and the Republican Party as they stand for patriotism, they stand for moving ahead, they stand for hard work. And of course it's bullshit, but we've got to keep working to educate people that things are not simple. Things are not simple, and we can't just depend on the Latino vote to be Democratic because it's
right. To me,
it's generational and it's class-wise because in Texas you have these are third and fourth generation Mexican Americans whose parents have gotten here and they've worked their butt off, and now they're college educated, and they're saying, oh, wait a minute, I don't want anybody else coming over here for everything that I've worked for. On the other hand, now there's a bunch of us that politically designate themselves as Chicanos, and as far as Chicanos go, Everybody else get out because you invaded our land in the first place. We're still in reservations, and we're still so. There's a view of people coming from that aspect of this is our land anyway, so we're going to vote for that, and that's usually a Democratic left to give to get back what they've lost.
It's so complicated, and
Yeah,
it's
there's so
so,
many versions of it.
Yeah.
and I love this. Thank you.
Latinos a huge group, and it's not.
So okay, so let's go to this now.
The quick, can I? Quickly,
Yes, please.
You know, and another thing I want to bring up, you know, I consider myself a progressive, but how progressive is it to say, you know, I want higher taxes for extremely wealthy people. I want, you know, alternative energy. I want, these things they're not far left communist things like they're like places in Northern Europe. You know, they're not socialist. I want to challenge the notion that a lot of the Democratic Party is too progressive, and you know, I didn't support Sanders. I love Bernie Sanders, but I didn't support him. I thought that Hillary would be, you know, more attractive for different reasons. But people like Bernie Sanders are going to blue collar environments in Western Virginia and talking to you know, coal mine workers and talking to them about how they can get better representation and how they can switch to transitional jobs into transitional energy. And it is one of our talking points in the Staten Island is that Max Rose, the Democrat, stands for people's unions. You know,
Right.
We've lost a lot of the union vote because, you know, I think it's complicated over the last 40 years. The Republicans have demonized labor and union.
Right. One of the things that I love that Joe Biden has done so many things and people don't give him any credit for it. But one of the things that I love that he just recently did, not alone, but he, Marty Walsh, who was the mayor of Boston for a long time.
He's union head, right?
Yeah. And Pete Buttigieg, they together worked with the Teamsters Union to for the train, the Amtrak. Right. So that they would not strike. They didn't even strike for a minute.
Oh, wow.
They worked on it. They worked on it for 24 hours, and they made sure that they did not go on strike. That would have thrown us into a huge problem and stopped this country in its tracks. And they were able to give those men and women what they deserved and they wanted, and still say, where can we compromise? And to me, that is the epitome of working together, because not every one of them is a Democrat and not every one of them is a Republican. That was coming together and saying, listen, we're the United States of America. Amtrak is like the blood of this country in so many ways. How can we make this work? You do deserve days off. We do deserve to ask you to not push your luck too much. We all deserve to work together. I just feel like that was such an example of how we could pull together as a country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate though, and just say, like, you know, we didn't talk about this today. I mean, we could have this show for like 2 hours. There's so
I know
it's politics, but you know, a big problem in American politics is also like a big part of what makes America America, and that's all of the money that's in politics, right? Where, you know, we can simplify it and say like, oh, let's just take the money out of politics, right? But you know, and that would help. But you know, I was having this conversation with another friend of mine. There is nowhere in the world, there is no other country. I mean, I think that this is a big reason of why also the country or these politicians want this to change, right? This is why there's all this turmoil. It always comes down to money. But I think we are the only country in the world where anyone from anywhere can come here, seriously work hard and accumulate wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Accumulate wealth here like you can't accumulate wealth anywhere else in the world, right?
Right.
So now the money is distributed a lot more than it was, you know, 50, 100 years ago. And this is causing a lot of political tension because there's all of this money in politics. There's all of these people have power to pay, you know, hey, I'm gonna, you know, lobbyist, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and so it's causing all of this like chaos and distortion where the politics isn't about us anymore. It's not about the American people. It's about just those people that have the money to make laws.
Right.
I mean, is that a progressive concept to say we don't want fucking money in politics? Is that too far left? No. It's
No.
reasonable.
Listen, what we need
The
is
more
just
Democrats that we elect, we can do these things.
we
I
just
didn't think
need
it was left. I
fairness.
thought it was altruistic. I thought it was something that you wanted to be, that you were doing it for the people, for the cause, and money would only get in the way. I thought we were not supposed to deal with money. And I mean, ideally, not to have it at all, that we were doing
Right.
it from our heart.
I mean, let's be realistic, and people should get paid, and they should get paid well to do jobs across the country, whatever that job is. And you can't expect them to be martyrs either. But to the dark money, which is Judy, you turned me onto that whole concept of dark money.
Money is everything, and I mean,
Everywhere, right?
a whole, your governor just there's something just right now in the paper. She accepted I don't know how many millions of dollars. These people threw a fundraiser for her a week before, and now she's saying she doesn't recall. But it was like,
Yeah, but I got to tell you, the alternative is so much scarier.
I understand that, but the thing
Right.
is, I'm telling you that it's in both parts.
It's right. I agree.
You know what else we do a lot that bothers me is that we have to, as voters, we have to be aware of our own party's mistakes. We
Yes.
don't be like the Trump people and be like, no, Trump is fantastic. We have to be like, we have to hold our
Hold
people
them accountable.
accountable, right? We have to be like,
Well, they did with what's his name, Cuomo. I mean, I loved Cuomo. I thought he did a great job. And look, but one thing I'll say about the Democrats: somebody's wrong, they're wrong, and it's like, guess what? You got to go. We love, we liked you. You did a great job, but that was wrong. You got to go. And I will say, we're very quick to police our own. We really are. We try to.
We're a lot more moral.
Yeah. Well, let me just take a quick break and do
Plausible
the food section
deniability.
of our show, because we have to. Otherwise, Rena will kill me. Okay.
And I'll be hungry going to bed.
All right. So this section of our show is called "Go Ahead, Keep Eating." On the count of three, everybody together. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead.
Keep eating.
Okay. What did I make? I made myself this week a lasagna.
Oh.
I had lasagna. I had lasagna sheets left over from when I made John Bronson's parents' lasagna, and I had to use it up. So this is lasagna. It's got ricotta. It has Parmesan cheese, and I made a marinara. So that's on that, a little bit of parsley. And what did I make for? And I have to go back on my keto like in a week. I mean, I'm like, it's awful. My pants are
Look at
not.
all that pasta and that lasagna.
Oh my God. Okay, so what do I have for salad? I have red leaf lettuce, Bermuda onion. I have apples, Honeycrisp apples for the Honeycrisps are to represent Manhattan, right? The Big Apple. And then I have blue cheese dressing for our blue wave. So
That's
I'm
beautiful.
Thank you.
It's going to taste so good with the apple, that blue cheese and the apple together. I can taste it.
Can't wait. Yes, and I think I'm going to put a little dill on that too. I didn't think of it before, and there's a little celery on this too. A fig-infused vinegar and a Sicilian lemon olive oil. Now, for dessert, blueberry pie for our blue. So that's, I'm all about the themes. So, okay.
I mean, it's not my apron tonight, but it's blue.
The apron is blue. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the merchandise tonight because we have.
No, I'm saying the apron's blue, but I'm wearing blue too tonight.
Well, you look adorable, and Leo was in our calendar, as was Yudenia Mesa. Honey, your month's coming up next month, Miss October, right there.
My wall's going to melt when I turn the page.
I'm not going to show it because she'll be mad at me, but Leo was Mr. August. Judy was Miss October. And we have people getting ready and sending us pictures. Rena's husband, Ron Berge, was Mr. February. So it's so many exciting things. Now, so there, we could talk literally to what Judy said for 2 hours about this. What I want to really, really put forward is talk to people as much as you can. If you're not someone that can talk to people, like Judy admitted, I admire that. I love to talk to people. You can't shut me the hell up, because I'm like, my mother called me a chiacchierona. In Italian, that's a chatty Cathy. Never stops talking. So I like to talk to people. Now Joe gave me an idea. I'm going to print out registration forms because he said you can do that. for New York, and I'm going to bring them with me to work. Because I can't tell you how many young people that I talk to are like, I don't know, I'm not registered. And mostly
That's really
guys.
smart.
The women are really motivated because
Oh,
the
good.
abortion.
If the guys are registered, that's good. They can
No, but you know what? I think the abortion issue is going to bring all the girls out, but it affects guys too. And so
It
many
affects
things.
guys. There's a whole bunch of leftover adopted kids out there that are pretty bitter about this. I'll tell you that on the Twitter feeds regarding abortion and people are upset about it. They don't want to go back in time where they don't have to know their parents or be left at a hospital or
Right.
all the things that go on that happened before.
I will tell you this: in New York, there are, and this is no exaggeration, 8,500 foster kids that are not placed in a home. That 8,500 children right now that do not have even a foster home. So that's what I'm saying. If you really are pro-life, then be pro-life. Don't just, it's not about that. It's about controls. So we could go on for literally another hour, like Judy said, or two. We're going to, of course, this is an entertainment show, and I like to showcase my friends that are creative. And everybody here is a creative person, but this is the most important election of my lifetime. And I'm 60. So I've never been this scared ever. And I feel like we have to. And if you know young people, get them going. Explain to them. I say to people all the time, if you want to know about candidates, call me. I will do the research for you and then tell you what's happening. Or I'll direct you to websites that will tell you. So, Greg, yes.
We really, really need canvassers that speak Russian and Chinese in Staten Island and in Brooklyn. And it's $20 an hour, and it's 5-hour shifts, really flexible. But we really need people to, it's fun. You knock on the door, you make a personal connection, you're passionate about it, and we need to reach those people that only speak Mandarin or Russian.
Okay, very good to know. And how do they contact? How do they?
Max Rose for Congress.
Okay, Max Rose for Congress. Max Rose is a wonderful guy. He's
great. He was, and then Nicole
Malliotakis knocked him out. Yeah. And she's a nutbag.
She voted to decertify the election.
Right.
Yeah. She wants a national ban on abortion. It's nuts.
Yeah, no, I know, and
get involved. Just beg your friends, especially in swing states, to please get involved.
Yep, and I do the postcards to swing states. You still have time. If you don't want to canvass and you still want to do something, I don't donate because what I do is I save my money for this, which you pay for the stamp.
Thank you so much for that. Whoever put that up.
Yeah. Oh, the Max Rose. That's Leo. I think Max Rose is great. I really like him.
I can't believe that he got knocked out. I didn't even know that. He's such a great guy.
He got knocked out by Nicole Malliotakis, who's a total.
He got knocked out in 2020.
But it wasn't by much. It wasn't by much. That's
and he was already doing such great things in that community.
Yeah.
You guys have sections of Staten Island in the electoral district, Mac, that are just marked Q. I'm not sure if that means it's unsafe to go canvass there, but there's people out there that really believe that Democrats are satanic pedophiles. And
very
I don't
dangerous.
know. It's there's big chunks of Staten Island that are just
Staten Island and Long Island. Those are the two places, but Staten Island is of all the boroughs. Just really, it's dangerous territory there. That's why, Greg, I admire what you're doing so much. And you don't live there. You live in Manhattan.
Well, it's split. I mean, there's a possibility we can win it again, and there's plenty of nice people there. It's America.
Yeah, it's America.
We just gotta fight for it because we are the party that want freedom and security, and compassion.
Yep. Now,
union.
And right, unions. Talk to your union people. There's just so many things that
I'm listening to Greg, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, there's no way that I can canvass. One crazy person tells me that anything from QAnon, and I'll punch him in the face.
It's hard.
And
it's hard.
I'll literally.
No, Judy, don't canvass. Don't cameras.
Don't.
But then you get somebody about 45 minutes later that says, "Oh my God, of course I'm pro-choice. There's an election." You know,
Right.
it's the Lord's work. It is the Lord's work.
Right. How about what were we? Who were we talking to the other day that didn't know? Oh no, we were watching this thing on CNN or something, and all these girls that they were interviewing, they're young girls, like between 18 and 24.
Yes.
And they were all like, "Of course we're pro-choice."
No,
and
then
they didn't know about the midterms.
And she was like, "What's that?"
What's a midterm? She said. So please remind, especially young people. Listen, tell them, if you have young people and you don't want to talk to them, tell them to reach out to me on Facebook or at my email. And please, I will be so happy. I love young people. I love talking to them.
Teachers, educators, what are you doing? This is our civil. You should be teaching this to all the kids. They should know it. It should be on a test.
Unless you're in Florida, and then you could get arrested.
Because in Florida now, you don't have to be an educator to be an educator.
Oh, no.
I could just send Christina down there and she can start teaching biology.
Right, because they don't. But you know,
I'm going there so I can get a free trip to Martha's Vineyard.
Oh my God, that's another episode. But I will say one great thing, and then I want you all to leave on something positive. But I will say one good thing that I heard that in Florida, the Venezuelan population, the Cuban population, and also the Argentine population is actually very upset with that stunt that he pulled, because it was very reminiscent of the Ilan Gonzalez.
Oh, that's right.
And that actually, they say that that's one of the big reasons that George Bush won Florida, because that was Clinton right before that. Remember that, and they saw that as a something that hit home for them. So they saw this Ron DeSantis thing as a very, like, whoa, that's going too far.
It's insulting.
It's insulting. We will have you guys back on before the election again to talk more. There's so much more to talk about. But I want everybody to go around and say something positive that we can do, or just please inspire people. We need it. Who wants to start?
Greg.
I want to encourage people who talk to people about politics to keep it positive. As much as I would like to go out there and say, can you fucking believe that Trump made fun of a disabled journalist? Can you fucking believe he didn't do anything for 187 minutes? Keep your focus on the Democrats are, we are the party for freedom. We are the party for standing up for a union. We are the party that supports a woman's right to choose. We're the party that wants to keep Social Security, that wants to have a fair tax structure, Keep it positive and look into people's eyes and try to convey the passion that this election is really important. The Democrats need to save the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. And we can do it because look at what happened in Kansas. I'm from Kansas. I lived there for 20 years. We voted 59-41 against that ridiculous abortion ban, So there's a wave. It's really, really difficult to gauge polls, and there's a chance that the Democrats can pull this out. We'll easily retain the Senate. Don't worry about that. But please get involved in your House races, because there's about 40 of them, and the Democrats need to win like 37 of them.
Right.
But we can do it.
All right, Leo or Judy, who wants to go next?
I'm going to say, since I can't, I'm not someone that can talk to other people that have opposing views. What I do instead is, I try to post on, on my Instagram as much as I can, informative things. I try to post, about global, economy and things happening all over the world, just so that I feel like the way that I approach it is I want people to see, to not be so, desperate, and to see that what happens here happens everywhere, and what happens everywhere happens here. And we are all one big world. So we have to take care of everything, what's happening everywhere. So that's how I communicate. I just rather write and post. And then, you know, I try to get involved, you know, myself, you know, like I that's how the best way that I know how to do things. Like if I see a need somewhere, you know, I want to study for it, and I want to try to see if I can do something to help that, you know, that field. Yeah, and that's it. And yeah, definitely, please vote. The midterms are very, very important, and don't take your freedom for granted.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. Leo, what do you got, Connie? So much.
Pay attention to the history that we went through. Look forward, and you can't complain about not being heard if you don't use your voice.
All right, so I'm going to end on this. I can't thank you guys enough. I love every one of you for different reasons. You know who you are and why I love you. I like to talk to people one-on-one. That's my thing. I also like to post a lot of stuff. I agree with what Gregg said. Let's meet in the middle. I don't want to berate people, and I have my ideas, believe me. But I think that don't hate, educate. All year I've been saying it. Don't hate, educate. There's so many people out there that just don't know better. I am a person that you can ask something to. I will give you my opinion. I will also try to educate you. Please, let's stick together. We are the United States of America. As I said, I am taking back our flag from those crazy people that had it at January 6th. You can't have it. Give me back that flag. This belongs to the whole country. This does not belong to crazy people that attack police officers after they say the blue line and all that. No, you can't have it both ways. Okay, this is our country. It's a beautiful country, and I dedicate this episode to my mother, who became an American citizen when she was 18. She never, ever, ever missed an election, even when she was in a wheelchair and had cancer. If that doesn't make you feel guilty, I don't know what does. My mother can make an election every time. You can get off your, you know what, and vote. Okay, thank you, everybody. We love and appreciate you. Please, please, please come back every week and see us. But more than that, please vote. Rena put the American flag up. Yes, Rena.
Right.
First generation Italian. And wherever you're from, God bless you. Leo, I love you to pieces. Everybody, Judy, Greg, I love you. Good
Thank
night,
you,
everybody.
Joe.
And Joe.